What's going on, Nation? Welcome to a little late night, early morning Sharky chat, Sharky hangout. Tuesday morning here on the East Coast. West Coast guys still in Monday night, hanging out. An opportunity to have a conversation. Just taking a step back. A lot of NBA tonight, football, the whole thing. Middle of the night, we have a chance to take a breath, enjoy ourselves, figure out what's going on here. And I see 0 people in the chat, 0 people in the conversation, an opportunity to talk to myself. As I always say, I'm very well scripted in this. I have talked to myself exclusively for the last 5 years. The mind of the shark is a wild, interesting place. I try to give you guys an access point to it. What goes on up here is something that is probably something that might be somewhat intriguing to all of us, but so much love to you guys. I know it's the middle of the night, and I know this is a channel that is working to grow. And I know, obviously, I could go live on Twitter, but Twitter has become a bit of a fledgling endeavor with lack of conversation, the inability to have comments. Ziggy Balls, what up, brother? My guy, what's going on, my boy? You a dog, bro. You a dog. And just welcome you guys to the chat. We'll be on here for at least another half an hour, if not more. So just hanging out and seeing what's going on. Just going to marinate for a second. Just cracked a beer. One of the more electric ones I have ever found. I will say that. We're going to get a little conversation going with this one. I'm a little flat right now when I start drinking this. Juice Force 9.5% IPA. Cheers up, fears down. Let's have a sip of beer. Let's talk some basketball. Let's talk some football. And I will engage you guys. 4 guys in the chat. A beautiful thing it is. Jaden Batts. You know it. Let's go through some angles. I want to talk early NFL Week 10 on this broadcast. So just cheers to all of us. So much love to you guys for interacting and connecting with the energy that we put forth. And, truthfully, it's not me. It's you guys too. It's the connection. It's the love and respect. So cheers to us. Tuesday morning, November 7th. Let's fucking go. Whew. It's a nice beverage, gentlemen. Nice beverage, gentlemen. If you guys don't drink this, I'm not sure how many of you guys drink beer. For those of you guys who do, I assume most of you do because it's a nice little hangout spot for most of us. This is a great beer. Great beer. Highly recommended. And going to take another sip and then we'll talk some ball. Neil Kleister, my guy. What up, bro? What's going on, brother? Good to see you on here, man. Yeah, the Magic just laid down. Just laid down. I mean, there's no way around it. Just laid down. That's unbelievably, I would say inexcusable, but I would say also hard to comprehend. You got the opponent on a back-to-back, and you stop scoring the basketball in the second half. I mean, don't get me started. Don't get me started on that. I don't like to rant on plays that went awry, but I'm right there with you. Bro, Keeks, my guy, 100%. Cheers, bro. Let me take another sip here. This is giving me a nice little buzz factor here. It's a beautiful thing. Cheers to you guys. Appreciate you guys so much. And let's talk about the NBA tonight for a brief second. I was super frustrated tonight. I'm not gonna lie, I was super frustrated. I do think hopefully, part of the endeavor obviously is hoping that we all cash. I do think at least a portion of people did get the Lakers at +1.5. I hope you guys cashed. I pushed, but I do hope that some of you guys cashed the closing line. I know I was talking to my guy Anthony Latino, obviously from the NFL broadcast. He cashed. He had +2, and I was looking at the closing market. It was all +1.5 and +2. So I think you guys cashed. Hopefully, the card that went to the bank did cash for most of you guys. I pushed, so let it be for what it is. But I hope most of you guys did cash that at the late line. Johnny King, great question. The Super Bowl pick for the Cowboys actually was more speculative than assuming that they would win the title. I actually really like the play from the standpoint of being able to hedge in the playoffs at some point in time where we're going to get a game at some point where at plus 1400, we're going to be able to move our bet against it and probably have at least, I would say, 5 or 6 units to just kind of hover in the middle of profitability. And that's pretty much what I bet that for. It was not actually expecting them to win the title. It's actually going forward into the playoffs. I think the Cowboys will be there in round two. I think we can probably make some hedging bets. So basically, sitting at this implied odds point of plus 1400. And, my guy Noob, so I've been doing some work with on the Bet US show, he's all about implied odds and like buying low in certain spots where you can hedge later. I think it's just a very intelligent point. And I'm actually going to be working with Noobs a lot more in the coming future, and just seeing where theoretically you can buy nice little buy lows and then have a lot of financial access in terms of equity analysis and forecasting later on. So that's pretty much what the entire point was. Yeah, and the Magic, the thing with the Magic tonight, like, it just, in early season basketball, this is the beauty of it. I would say it's not, I was going to say the insanity of it, but it's also the beauty of it is that, 2 weeks ago today, we opened the season. 2 weeks ago on Tuesday night, we opened the season. So we are so young. We're so young. And, when we really look back on this season, we go forward 8 months. And it's such an interesting endeavor from the standpoint that, at least for myself, I always thought that the NBA was somewhat short, I guess. This is when I was a kid, and I always thought baseball was long. I soon realized as an adult, handicapping this, NBA is long. NBA is 8 months. October 20th to June 20th on record. We're in here for the long haul. And there's so many plays, there's so many spots, there's so much variance, there's so many angles. And we're just working into it. And I was frustrated tonight more so from the standpoint that I really personally, I laid off winners tonight. And I'll say this to you guys on this conversation because it's more of a deep conversation. But I laid off winners tonight. And I really did. I was looking at a lot of games tonight. Obviously, a huge card, 12 games. You look at every game, you're going to lay off winners or losers theoretically. But tonight for me, and I know it is for a lot of us too, I know you guys tell me, and I appreciate the fuck out of you guys for trusting my analysis. There were a lot of games tonight I looked at, and it annoyed me. It annoyed me. I will say that. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I really liked the Wolves tonight. I liked the Thunder tonight. I liked the Dubs tonight. And I also liked there was one other team I really liked tonight. And it was one of those fucking nights where there were so many games. I was not super comfortable early season putting that many units out personally. And pretty much they all won. They all won, I would say. It's one of those nights where every single time you looked at a game, it won. And then you zone it on 3 games, you get a hook push where most of the market wins and the Magic melting the fuck off. So, I was sitting out back earlier, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, just how I run my channel. I tell you pretty much exactly what's going on. I was sitting out back earlier, and I said to myself, I trust you. And this is what I said to myself every day to run the channel and talk to people the way I do. I always say to myself, I trust you. I trust you, my guy. Like I'm my biggest guy. And I encourage you guys to talk to yourself in a more positive light too. And I'm not saying you guys talk to yourself in a negative light, but I know that in life you're not cultured to talk to yourself in a massively positive light. It's very competitive. It's very much how can I beat somebody else in this quick window game, the whole thing. I always really coach myself up mentally, but sometimes it's hard to gamble. It's hard to put out 10 units on a board where you feel like these might be the spots. And it was one of those nights for me. And that's why I actually put out the tweet that I said, apologies to you guys for the push. I think I was actually saying apologies to myself for the push because I was very annoyed by the fact I didn't play about 6 or 7 other sides tonight because I saw the sides and it was one of those classic environments where you say to yourself, it's NBA early season. Do I really want to risk about 10 units tonight, even though I love the games? And almost all of them won. And it was one of those situations where personally I was sitting out there and I was like, I knew it. And I was apprehensive. I was incapable of pulling the trigger. And they all won pretty much. Every single game I looked at that I thought was pretty good did win. So I was sitting there, I was like, fucking A, to be perfectly honest. And it's kind of the interweb, it's the new season, it's the dynamics of the whole situation. And it's hard sometimes with the amount of games that do really go down on record on a given night in the NBA to go in a game sequence where you feel like we have 12 to 15 games tonight and we're giving prognostication and financial culpability to people publicly that literally cannot ever lose this many units if it goes awry. And I will say this is a very unique point about gambling Twitter. Gambling Twitter is very difficult from a pick standpoint because the upside to winning is not nearly as big as the low side to losing. And I will continue to say this, and I want to make this point. We would have gone 8-1 tonight, and I'm not lying. I'm being dead honest. We would have gone 8-1 tonight. It is what it is. If we had gone 1-8 tonight, people would have lost their mortgage. I would have gotten trolled. I would have potentially lost my account. And this is gambling Twitter in a nutshell. It's highly difficult to financially advise people in speculative environments when the boards are big. When we won 110 units in a season 2 seasons ago, I was literally on like crazy ice cold steroids in mind. I literally don't have a girlfriend anymore because of that season. And that might sound insane because you'd say, wow, that was the most successful season possible. The point is, I had to ignore every single person I knew to be so ice cold in the mind to bet that hard. And just a small comment between the group of us here, 110 units publicly that year, I was up 275 units personally that year. And that is no bullshit. I was betting a lot of in-game sides, second half sides on our sides. We were up so much money. I was ice fucking cold. But the point is, I wasn't a human being. I wasn't there for anybody. I deserted my girl emotionally. She broke up with me. She cheated on me. Jay Money didn't like me anymore. Nobody liked me anymore. And that's the insanity of public media and the putting out of plays. It's very, very difficult to be a soulful, solid human being while you're winning at a sick rate. And the thing that's so sick about it, you see with professional athletes all the time. Guys that are on sick heaters and sick win rates, it's not so much they're on a heater from the standpoint they're on a luck box like in a casino. It's actually the fact that they just know sustainably the energy it takes, the focus point that it takes is so hard on them as a person. And it was so hard on me as a person. I literally lost my girl because of that, unequivocally. I was so distant. I was a miserable fuck. I was hyper competitive. She could never talk to me during the games. There was 6 hours every night for 9 months straight. I was the biggest fucking asshole. And the thing is, we won tons of money. I have a lot of money to show for it. I have no girl to show for it. And I have no relationship to show for it. And that's sports gambling in a nutshell. And it's also sports gambling at the highest level, is that like you have to be so fucking locked in. Like you cannot be anywhere else than right in the season with every single team and know exactly what they're doing. I was watching a couple of shows I did with Jay Money back 2 years ago during the season. We won 110 units. And I will say this, I was up 275 units 2 seasons ago. Zero bullshit for you guys. This is why I wanted to create a private channel, but I felt like I could never charge for picks because people fucking think it's insane criminality if you charge for picks, which is fucking insane. But staying the course of conversation, I was up so much fucking money. I could barely think. I was like literally in this insane fucking apocalypse of wildness. And I used to do the shows with Jay Money without notes. Jay Money and I would go on there for a fucking hour, and I would just regurgitate in my mind exactly every single point I knew about every single team from tabulating in my mind for the last 3 months. And I was watching some of those shows back on Jay Money's channel 2 nights ago, and I was like, I looked at myself. I said, bro, are you fucking kidding me? You actually did that fucking hour-long show and you gave those sick commentary points. You had no notes. That was pure memorization. That was pure memorization. That's the sickness of my mind. When I get super locked into a project, I can memorize the entire sample of everybody, all the teams, all the angles, all the dynamics, all of it. I can memorize it, and I can be so interpolated in my mind. It's insanity. But the point is, it consumes me. It's like I'm in war. I'm unavoidably nowhere other than the project. So the point is, when I'm dealing with women, they hate me, basically. And we made close to 200 grand that year, and that was beautiful, but that was it. There was emotional isolation. There was complete misery in the whole project. And then the next season, we lose 30 units in a month. Everybody's talking shit. Jay Money says, I'm done. And then I was sitting up there and I was like, wow, isn't that incredible? We won all this money. I was so locked in for so long. And I take 1 month and shit goes off the chain. And then it's done. It's fucking wild. Fucking wild. Great question, Johnny, my guy. Great fucking question. Great fucking question. Let me take a sip of beer and I will answer you. It's a great fucking question. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, man. I sacrificed a lot. I really did. I really did. I was a complete asshole. I really was to my girl. And I was an isolated person. And I was so locked into what I was doing. And I can't sit here and say that I was wrong because the success was immense. And it really was where I thought I was supposed to be in that moment. And I was so unbelievably locked in. But a lot of things played out in directions that I was not necessarily looking towards because of those moments. And it is crazy. It is crazy, but that is the truth. I actually did ostracize my girl from the standpoint that I was so locked in. And we had money. I mean, let me tell you guys a couple of stories. So we're up in Pennsylvania. She's ordering paintings from New York artists, $3,000 a painting. I'm down here in Florida. We broke up, right? Her wall in Pennsylvania probably has $30,000 worth of art on the fucking wall. And that's because I was smoking the NBA for 4.5 years before she and I split. And the sickest thing about this is just the uniqueness of gambling on sports is that you can be so locked in and people will profit with you as they are in relationships with you concurrent to the environment, and then they just desert the minute it's not immediately amazing afterward. It's fucking wild. Actually, it's fucking wild. And Ryan, that's actually completely false. Just to be perfectly honest, that's completely false. I didn't say the N word on Twitter. I was listening to a hip hop song and I was jamming out. So, I mean, I know a lot of you guys want to take me out of context, and certain people just want to rip me, which is fine. If you guys want to rip me, I'm here for it. I made a mistake without question. It was a shit fucking mistake. So I'm here for it. Like, you guys can say whatever you want, and I will honestly, I will own that mistake with you guys because it was a mistake. But I was not saying the N word in a racist context. So just please keep yourself in context of what really happened, because it was not a derogatory remark. I was just being a little bit irregular and just truthfully made an irresponsible comment. But please be on point factually with that, because it's not proper, it's not smart to take people out of context to blast them. Yeah, you're right, bro. You're right, bro. But here's the thing: did I say it derogatory? Did I say it racially? No. And that's just the point. It's just the point. It was not a racial comment. It was over the course of hanging out. And I will say this, I might take this broadcast a certain direction. This may be where my guy wants it to go so he can tear me down. And Ryan, if you want to tear me down, you're not going to tear me down because I'm going to give you the truth. I'm going to give you the truth. Sports media and hip hop have governed our culture for 25 to 35 years. If you actually think and you want to think that people listening to hip hop, buying hip hop music, clothes, and identifying with a culture that is very positive is a negative, you're just buying into an anti-structural negativity point. That's it. Guys like myself, and there's millions of guys like myself who love black people, love culture, love the entire enterprise of media, sports, rap, and grind, who just hang out within it. And if we speak a word that somehow is now twisted into us being something we're not even close to, you guys are the ones that are actually trying to manipulate something that is not real. And that's all I got to say on it. You guys are the ones that are manipulating, not us. We respect everybody, we love everybody, and we actually embody the power of the rap, hip hop, and culture. And we always will. So please keep that real. Please keep that real. Please keep that real. And you can say whatever you want, but you're obviously trolling, and that's fine. But again, when you look at yourself, say to yourself, bro, it's okay, man. It's just okay. Life is not about tearing people down because of things you're taking them out of context. It's okay. It's just okay. Yeah. And it's fine. I mean, if you think that if you think, and I'm just, this is the last thing I'll say on it, but it's really true. If you really think that being within the culture we're in right now, and we have been for the last 30 years, is somehow you can't make a word, or you can't comment on what's going on, or you can't mess around with the industry athletically and musically because you listened to it your entire life. What are we? What are we? Authoritarianism? Like, this is like censorship. Like, everybody's like, we're trying to like control word usage to blast people and put people into categories and make people more miserable. Like, just think about what you're even doing. Like, you're actually holding humanity back by your take. Like, I'm just being dead honest. You're holding humanity back. Like, you are not improving anybody. You are making people more miserable, more isolated, more angry, and just, it's pretty wild, actually. Um, but that's some sick shit, regardless. It's just wild. But the thing is, truthfully, going back on that comment, um, I just get mind blown by people that want to truthfully take people out of context for remarks that are not even close to what they were saying. So it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, I made a comment, about 6 months ago when I was sitting here drinking beers and I was listening to a couple of hip hop songs and I was fucking around, and basically, people wanted to say I was doing this, and that. I was doing nothing other than listening to music and just hanging out as I've hung out for 25 years. So it is what it is, but I appreciate my guy Ryan checking out what's going on. And Johnny King, you my guy. Appreciate you, man. No doubt. I mean, there's not 1 ounce of me that is even remotely um, disrespectful. In fact, I have really, really in my life, interacted with everybody and everybody, you know. And I don't do that to prove a point to anybody. I do that because I genuinely care about the human spirit. You know, I genuinely think everybody has an equal opportunity as a human being that's born on this earth, and just you have the you have the openness to win. And you know, when people try to take me out of context and blast me like that, it wasn't the fact that I was defending myself from the standpoint that I was actually, you know, a criminal who, you know, made a mistake. It was the fact that I was so unbelievably soulfully offended by how people wanted to misportray me to harm me, because I genuinely love people so much. The entire baseline of my channel is my love of people, every single person. Most of the reason I even clicked the first video I ever did when I started Sharky Waters Nation is because I was sitting in Florida 5.5 years ago, and I said to myself, where are people? What are people doing? I want to see what people are doing. And my gateway to see what people were doing was conversation. And my conversation was just saying, what's going on? And at that point, I didn't have Sharky Waters Nation. I didn't have a channel. I just said, what's going on? I had one person watching me in the middle of the night. And I said, what's up, brother? What are you doing? And he and I just chatted for like an hour arbitrarily. That was the beginning of my channel. And when I started to do it, I realized there's people out there across the world that are on the internet. I had no internet experience. I had no media experience whatsoever. And I started talking to people, and I continue to talk to people because I truly love the connection that is available on the internet. And I saw people across the globe, and I saw them for numerous things. And I saw them at core centric points, love and respect. And when I started Sharky Waters Nation Part 1, before I made a couple of mistakes, which of course pulled that channel, every single time I posted, I said, all love and respect. I've been saying that since the beginning of my channel 5 years ago. And it's because it's exactly how I believe in my core. That's all I do in life. It's all love and respect. So whenever I say this, I do this, I do this, I made some mistakes, I'm a public personality, it's all love and respect. It always has been, and it always will be. And there's no way around that. So just know that, and allow a person that puts out hundreds and thousands of hours of content to make mistakes anecdotally, not with intention to harm, just things that happen along the way. I understand they might offend people. I apologize for that immensely. I firmly apologize. I love you guys so much. Those were my mistakes. It's not how I think. It's not anything anecdotally out of context you might want to portray it as. And I fucking love you guys. So let that be for what it is. Let that be for what it is. Let that be for what it is. Cheers to you guys. I appreciate you guys listening to that little diatribe, but I felt like I need to clarify that. It has been 5.5 years since the early fall summer of 2018. Sharky Waters Nation. Let's fucking go. Let's talk some fucking sports. Gonna drink a beer and let's fucking get in there. See who's in the chat here. Walker Bailey. What up, boss? My guy. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, brother. And Ryan says, coming back on the topic. I hear you, Ryan. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You know, the Jay shows are great. I mean, they're great shows without question. So I'm right there with you. I will say this. I've always said this. I love doing the shows with Jay. So it is what it is. You know, Jay can do whatever he wants, but he never made a comment on me. I love Jay. I've always loved Jay. I think he's a smart dude. I think he does great content. We always did great content. So it is what it is. Luis Rodriguez, my guy. What up, brother? No doubt, bro. Candyman, what up, boss? Neil Claiste, what's going on, bro? Gonna take a quick sip, gentlemen. Gotta get that hair flowing, boys. This is the push hat tonight. Here. But you know, it's a blessing, man. I appreciate you know, even Ryan, my guy. I appreciate it, man, for even saying that because it's just conversation. It's a conversation, and that's the definition of what wins in life. It's just talking about it and seeing what's going on. So I appreciate you even bringing that up. Um, it was never really a beef for me. We don't speak anymore. We do not. But I will say this, and I've said this at least 5 times, and I'll say it again. This is not a point of shame. This is just a pure fact. Jay Money hit me up in January, actually. This is far before, and this is actually the intrigue of the whole situation. It had nothing to do with me having like this moment in the middle of June or whatever. Jay Money actually hit me up in January, and he said to me, Shark, I can't work with you anymore. I got to work on myself or something like that. Bless you on your journey. That was it. I was literally sitting in the studio ready to record. I got this text about 30 minutes before recording, and I have not heard from him since. That is the dead honest truth. I was ready to record in January, sitting in my studio. He sent me a cryptic, bizarre text, and I've never heard from him since. That's it. And that's where I made some comments saying I thought Jay was sketchy. I thought he was lacking communication. I thought he, was kind of all over the place, maybe misdirected, whatever. Because the way he treated me and the way he handled me after working for 2.5 years to put on one of, if not the best NBA shows on the internet, to just say, Shark, I'm out. Bless you on your journey, and never talk to me again. It was cryptic. It was bizarre. And the whole situation was just totally misguided. And there's no way that Jay Money could ever say that he handled that correctly at all. And that was what I've been talking about for the last 6 months. I was never, ever shading Jay. In fact, for those of you guys who listen to me talk about this situation since the very beginning in January, I've always said I thought Jay was an incredible talent. I thought he was very smart. I thought the show was great. And I was very regretful as to how he handled the situation. So he was never, ever moving on me, like Ryan said, because I said something in June. This whole separation happened 5 months prior because of his own decision for random, cryptic reasons, if you will. And I was just sitting there, just like kind of like whatever. And it is what it is. But I mean, like here, and the thing is, like, I'm so unbelievably willing to start my own channel. And when I started working with Junior, just in the last month, and I started working with Sean Green, these guys, one of the beautiful things about the internet is that there's so much talent, and there's so many guys that are great, and they're so communicative, and they're so conversational, and the whole thing is awesome. It just, speaking to Ryan directly, it just was truthfully very cryptic by Jay, very cryptic. And I think part of it, I will speak on this because I have no regret. I have nothing to hide. I think Jay was just burned out, if I'm being honest. I think he was just burned out. And I think he was just burned out. I think like he was working like 4 different shows last year. He was working for Wager Talk. I think he was doing the Bet US show 2 days a week. He was working for Action Network, and he was doing the show with me. And also, he had just moved to Colorado, and he was sleep deprived. He had a kid and a dog, and the whole thing. I think he was just burned out. I think he was just burned out. And I just believe in people by default. And you guys that have listened to my talks since that happened in January, you guys do know that I never sat here and gave shade to the situation or anything. I always tried to find the reasoning behind it and kind of what happened. I honestly just think Jay was burned out. And I just don't think that he ever was able to say that he was burned out. And of course, pride is, a tough thing for people, but I think he was burned out. He and I were doing an entrepreneurial show. He was doing 3 different shows that were paying him significantly. We were the only show that wasn't getting paid. The whole premise of the show was that we were going to get paid huge based on sponsorships and signing in the coming years. but he cut that off before it could go to that point. But the whole point was the Shark and Jay Money and the Shark was going to become the premier show in NBA basketball. And we were going to get sponsored and the whole thing. So the whole point was like, we're not going to get paid for like a year or two, but we're going to jump and the whole thing. But he needed the money quick, fast, and he needed it, in proximity. So I think it was burnout, and I think it was quick, fast proximity money he needed. And it was burnout because we were doing the show early and the whole fucking thing. He didn't like the time frame of it. I think honestly, I don't think there was a lot of like necessarily like vindictiveness. Like I don't think there was like I don't think anything was horribly wrong. I just think that like he was overworked. He had a lot of things going on, and he wasn't getting paid for the show he did with me. Not only that, but like I put on a very good show. You guys know that. I'm not gonna lie. Like I always say, this meritocracy is what's real. I put on a great show. Jay has to be there for a great show. If he's got to do 3 other shows in a day, it's hard to really turn up for the show with me because he's got to put on a big voice and energy. And you could, you just sense that energy. Like guys don't have that kind of energy 4 times in a day when you're doing so many different shows. And I think that's pretty much what happened. And yeah, and Johnny, in terms of the book, when I started working with them going back, about a month and a half ago, I will say this: the company has been very genuine. The producer is somebody who worked with multiple companies before, and it's one of those things where I can't stand for what they did 10 years ago. I'm right there with you. That sucks. I hate to even fucking engage it because I have no obviously control over the situation. And I know people don't really like sports books in general because they're always, it is what it is. But you have to understand, when I'm working with Jay and I get pretty much dumped on the side of the road, like whatever, I have a lot of opportunity. And there's just a lot of different things that I actually shut down the previous couple of years. And I left a lot of opportunity on the table. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like I was very loyal to the Jay situation. I never did any projects ever because I always thought we were the central project. I'm going to stay the course with this. I'm a very loyal guy just by nature. So when I was dipped on, I was like, all right, I got to see what's going on. So that's what I'm doing now, guys. Like it's not some sort of exploitative point or anything like that. It's just kind of what I'm doing in the aftermath. And I will say this, Junior and I have had numerous conversations far off the record. And this is a crucial point, far off the record. Junior and I have a great relationship. And if you guys notice, Junior always says, Sharky's my boy. And that's not bullshit. Like Junior and I talk off the record a lot, just shooting the shit. Junior's my guy. And we have a very good relationship. So this is not some sort of reactionary point to Jay Money or anything. It's just over the process of the 6 or 7 months, Junior and I started talking. I was like, "What's good?" And I didn't even know Junior at all. And he was like, "I'm down here hanging out. What's good?" I was like talking about poker, women, yachts, resorts, island. Junior and I shooting the shit every day, no bullshit. And we have a great relationship. So the whole point was we wanted to start a show not because of Jay Money, but because we actually really enjoyed having a conversation with each other. So, I would love to work with Jay Money at any point in time because I think the show is electric. I want to make that point on the record that what I'm doing in this new project, it has nothing to do as like a pushback or anything like that. It's very much just a new project and just good people just doing good things, honestly. Like we don't function in a vindictive nature. We're not pushing back at all. We're just hanging out, having a good time. And that's pretty much what it is. Rolling up, son, my guy. What up, brother? Cheers, bro. Modelo. Top dogs. And the interdynamics of these situations are fascinating. I love talking about them because I think it's a beautiful thing. Like, sports gambling Twitter is such a wild west. It's such a great little avenue to content and conversation. And like, when I started doing the show with BetUS, I didn't know Sean Green. And Sean Green's been hosting us up, and he's been fucking dominating with us and just fucking jumping off and the whole fucking thing. And I just thought the whole thing is just a beautiful, beautiful energy, really. And coming off the whole situation with Jay, and I don't know, you guys follow Jay probably. I don't follow him. He actually unfollowed me, so that's a key point. These guys, this is also a key point. I'll put this on record. This is a crucial point. Who hates who here, guys? Who hates who? Who hates who? Jay Money went out of his way to unfollow me. Ronald Kabang blocked me. Chris B. Kappen blocked me. Did I ever do anything to Ronald or Chris or Jay other than prop up their channel, give them followers, and make them more big time? And they all blocked me? Who's insecure in this game? Who's insecure in this game? Who doesn't really feel good about what's going on? I mean, what's going on here, guys? Some weird shit. Some weird shit. I think those guys don't like me at all. And the craziest thing is, I asked myself, why would they not like me? I think that Jay truthfully doesn't like anybody. I don't think he likes anybody. I think he just is a guy that has had a lot of personal turmoil in his life. And I think that he truthfully doesn't trust anybody on the planet. And he thinks everybody's out to get him. And when I started doing the show with him, I always kind of felt this little bit of a side angle, kind of like shade almost, where I felt like he always thought I was out to get him. And I always thought to myself, why does this fucking guy think that I'm out to get him? Because I'm all about building up this channel. And, one of the things that I said when the whole thing went down, apocalyptically, if you want to call it that, was certain people, when they're really harmed in their life, they have this ability to flip positives into negatives. And I think that's what happened. I think that really scarred people that have just gone through a lot of personal turmoil, they really have this ability to flip positives into negatives. And I think that's pretty much what happened. I think that he never felt positive in his life. I'm a huge positive energy. I function on positive energy myself. I channel positive energy to the internet. I don't think he was comfortable within it, because this is a deep sociological point with human beings. This is not Jay Money. This is just people in general. People function in energy quotients where when they're used to negative energy, they actually really function well in negative energy, because it's very easy to be small time and shit talk and kind of cancel people and just be largely sort of like materializing nothingness downward. But when you start to get around big time energy people who truly believe in positive energy and actualize positive energy by their daily actions, meditatively, fitness, diet, hydration, whatever you want to call it, it's hard to be around because it challenges your entire paradigm of negativity. And this is the crazy thing about people. People want to say they want to get out of negativity. Oftentimes they don't want to get out of negativity. They actually like negativity because it gives them power. And when they're around positive people, and not just saying like, hey, positive vibes are good, systemic, deep-rooted positive energy, which is fitness and hydration and detailed mental control, they get uncomfortable. And they don't entirely realize that positive energy is not just saying, hey, it's just positive vibes. It's a bunch of bullshit. You can't just say, I'm doing nothing to actualize my life, but I'm just going to stamp this bullshit on these guys. And I think that with these guys, they were very uncomfortable around me because I'm a very positive person. And I'm not doing it because I'm just saying a stamp on. It's how I live my life. And I firmly believe that about these guys. These guys, truthfully, really, really do not actualize health and wellness in their life where they feel a good vibe for themselves oftentimes. That's all I was ever putting out. You know, one of the most interesting points in the very introductory stage of the Shark and J Money show was one of his followers and a bunch of his followers in the chat said specifically, Shark never has a bad day. And at that point, this is going back 2.5 seasons ago, I was on the broadcast live looking at the chat and I saw some guy said that. And I was thinking to myself, this is actually when I was really starting to get into a center point of myself meditatively and starting to feel really good about myself in a consistent manner. So I had mind control meditatively. Some guy was like, Shark never has a bad day. And I saw that. I was like, shit, you're fucking right. I don't have a bad day because I do feel fucking good. And that's like the power of meditation is that you are so in your own self and you control your own mind, your own vision. And the whole show jumped from there. And I felt like at that was a very breaking point in the show where Jay was never really feeling super good. Like he was feeling okay. He would get some pops and some moments, the whole fucking thing, but he was never feeling super good. I was always feeling pretty fucking good. And it was just like this energy balance almost, if you will. And it just spiraled from there, really. And yeah, it just spirals from that. It really does spiral. It spirals from that. Let me go to the chat. I know I'm ranting, guys. My guy Neil from Buffalo, Big Dogs, RL, my guy Raul. Appreciate the tip last night, guys. Appreciate you guys tipping immensely. I know we're not winning huge, but we are up 40 units since January. It's not so bad. I think, gambling Twitter is so fucking hilarious that, it's all about the heater, but we are up 40 units since January and we're fucking smoking it anyway. Scott Foster, what up, boss? You a dough. Appreciate you, man. Jay reported me. Is that really? Did he really report me, bro? Is that real? Bobby Candyman, Jay is trying to get positive and work out. I would agree with that. It does not come natural, 100%. Ziggy Balls, maybe he's jealous of your handicap and your counterpoints. Yeah, that's certainly a point. And jealousy is a interweb of insanity. Jealousy is really, it's a very real thing. It's one of those things where grown men hit that. And it's wild, and I do think to this day there was certain jealousy, but I never really tried to really acknowledge it because I thought to myself, like, this is, a normal relationship. Like, this is how it should be. Like, we should be working, we should be grinding, we should be growing, whatever, and like, you guys never saw the off the record stuff, but I've always been extremely positive with people that I work with, extremely positive. The only time that I ever really got negative was last year when I was, obviously getting smoked for like a month and getting trolled like in very personal ways, which nobody's ever, very, very specific people experience on the internet, but it's a very unique thing. So I was not feeling great, but there were certain times where last November, I would say to Jay, like, fuck this, like, this sucks, whatever the fuck. Here's the point though. I thought that Jay was my guy. Like, I thought that Jay was somebody I could confide in. I didn't think that Jay was somebody that, like, if I was kind of tilted off a bad card or like feeling some shitty vibes, that he was just like looking to discard me. And I did not realize that was what was going on, but that is exactly what was going on. Jay was always trying to discard me, and that is unfortunate. I would say it's unfortunate, and it's symptomatic to what, it's business, but it's not business because we had the best show. So it was more so the fact that he could get paid to do easier things, and we didn't have good communication. So that was it. But that was it. He discarded me because he was annoyed last December when I was a little bit tilted off a downswing. And I basically was just saying, I'm tilted. Let's take a break for like 2 weeks. And at that point, he basically said, I'm done with you, which is kind of sick, actually. But that is what it is. Johnny King, my guy, appreciate it. Johnny King says, I watched just about all your shows with Jay, and he could have felt like you were shining a bit brighter than when he was comfortable on the show. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't want to sit here and, necessarily, rip that situation. I do think that there were moments on that show where he definitely felt, you know, he had a certain vision. He wanted it to be the Jay show from the beginning. And I think there was a disconnect there. And I think you're talking about it. And I think you're right. He always wanted it to be the Jay show. And even in the very beginning, before it got to where it was in terms of higher quality, he always wanted it to be something where it was him hosting everybody else. Not somebody that, truthfully would prop up the show and he'd have to co-host with the whole thing. And I just think the whole thing was just a miscommunication, really. Like that's the sickest thing about it. The thing that Jay never realized is that when he was, at the very beginning of the show, he was working with everybody, and he was working with Ski Profit. He was hosting Jose Mejia. He was doing everybody on Wager Talk. And I said to him, "What do you want to do?" And he's like, "We'll go three-way." And then when we did the three-way show, and you guys see me do three-way shows every day. I love three-way shows. Football, basketball, whatever. Baseball, whatever the fuck. And Jay hits me up after the three-way show with Jose Mejia, and he goes, "Shark, I know you didn't like that show." And then I was like, "Bro, what are you talking about?" And he was like, "You didn't like that show." And I was like, "Based on what?" He's like, "You were disinterested." And I was like, "Dude, no, it's a three-way show, so therefore my energy is different on the show. Like, what are you talking about?" And then slightly later on, crazy stuff here. So we do a show with Josh Punt School from Australia, my guy, who is now no longer my guy, apparently, because I don't know if they all brainwashed Josh into thinking that I'm a bad person. Josh unfollowed me too, so good for him making a stand on the Shark. But I love Josh. I've always loved Josh. Josh and I had hour-long Zoom calls in the middle of the night. Like, Josh knows me, which is weird that he unfollowed me, because is he groupthink? Is Josh groupthink? Like, is he like everybody says he has to do something? Because I'll tell you this, Josh and I talked on Zoom overnight in terms of just life and respect. And he knows me. Like, he knows the Shark as a person, which is kind of weird that he unfollowed me because of groupthink. Hope Josh is not getting groupthinked up, bro. That's kind of weird shit. But anyway, Johnny King, I appreciate you, bro. Cash App is Sharky Waters Nation, bro. I appreciate it, man. Massive appreciation, bro. Should be just straight up Sharky Waters Nation without a space on that. But I grinded the shit out of this stuff with these guys. Like, I grinded the shit out of this stuff with these guys. Like, that's the thing that's so wild. Like all of them, every single one of them that like threw me under the bus. I grinded the shit out of this stuff with these guys. Like, we had literally nothing, and we were just playing. We were just putting on shows every single hour. I was prepping like my entire life. I literally was just sitting around capping NBA and just like looking at numbers and getting my mind right for it. It's just wild, the whole thing. It's just the disrespect. Like, it's just wild disrespect. Honestly, it's wild disrespect, and they know it too. I mean, like my guy Scott Foster talking, like, I'm sure Jay's not in this chat. Like, he's in Colorado, fucking hanging out with his family. But like, it just, the disrespect was so ridiculous, so ridiculous, so ridiculous. Like, they literally they literally just like grouped up. Actually, what the trigger point was is that I called out Ronald for backing his boy in MLB parlays last summer, which is so unbelievably ridiculous. Unbelievably ridiculous. They were putting out fucking Nerfies and parlays in baseball, and I called him out. And Ronald literally had like a personal crisis and he said that basically I thought he was a terrible person and then blocked me. A lot of this is stemmed in Ronald Kabang. Like Ronald Kabang has a personal like miscalculation on me as a person. He fundamentally thinks that like I'm out to get him when I was actually out to help betters when he was propagating parlays and nerfies. Just the insanity of people. It's fucking wild. It's fucking wild. Literally. It's fucking wild. Yeah. And Scott Foster. I mean, you damn right. And here's the thing too, like I'll say this without question. I can put on a show. They can't. So like their reasoning, their isolation is useless for them because they're not gaining anything from it. They're just sitting out there in the middle of the ocean of doing nothing. And it's like, when I started doing shows with Junior, my guy Sean, we're working with all these dogs. This is what is up now. But I will say this: we will always know that the best show is J Money and the Shark. I'll say that until I'm 100 years old, and that's no disrespect to anybody that I work with now. But J Money and the Shark, it's the best show. It's the best show. Best energy, best connection, music, visual, commentary, energy, back and forth, period. And it doesn't matter. But it is what it is. Jay knows it too. I sent him a commentary and I sent him a point before the season started. And I said to him, I said, you know, we do the best show. And I said, you're never going to do better. And I mean that. I actually mean that too. Like, people used to say Shaq and Kobe. Like, Shaq never found a better sidekick in his prime. We're in our prime. Jay's never going to find a better show. No way. No way. That was it. And that's what I said. I said, you're not going to find anything better, but you're going to find more comfortability and you're going to do what you're going to do and you're going to hang out. That's it. So, whatever. But that's pretty much the bottom line. It's the best show. And, we're going to be doing a lot of work now. And I'm going to be doing stuff that I probably couldn't have done otherwise. And the whole thing is just going to be a jump off point from this channel and what we're doing here. When I do the show with Junior on Wednesday, like I will say this, as I said, Junior and I have cultivated a very, very good rapport very quickly. And I really enjoyed Junior. Really enjoyed Junior. So my comments about J Money totally segregated to my commentary about Junior. Junior is just a great on-air conversational point. And the videos that I've been able to do and the shows with Junior, we're on a new gateway here where there's a lot more access. I think there's a lot more conversation off the record, which is a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. And I'm looking forward to it. So, just giving you guys some insight as to what's going on. But, it's the whole thing is kind of mind blowing, honestly, because it seems like just like the entire world flipped on its head out of nowhere like that. I gotta take a piss, guys. I will be right back. I've been sitting on a beer for like 45 minutes here. I'll be right back. Got a lot to talk about. right, gentlemen. Thank you for waiting. Appreciate you guys. Let's talk some more ball here. Recentered here. Um, where were we? See you in the chat here. Off the grid sports, my guy. Appreciate it immensely. Walker in the house. Jack Stefan. Transparency is very positive. I agree with it. 100%. Appreciate you listening, man. Been trying to bring the transparency here since the fall of 2018, and it's catching on. So I appreciate you guys listening, without question. I want to talk about some football. I want to talk about next week. Let me take a sip on this Modelo. Cheers to you guys. Want to do a little rundown here. I do think these early week unbiased rundowns are usually pretty effective. I think we're running pretty efficient cover rate. I haven't tabulated it, but I think somebody hit me up and they were like, you should never bet anything other than your initial reads because they're usually pretty damn solid. Did you watch the Bucks Texans game? I saw it, bro. I was actually out front. I was so tilted that they kneeled down. And it was the third 2-point conversion in the last, I believe, 20 minutes of the game that they didn't get because the kicker apparently got hurt and they had to kick field goals with like a running back or something ridiculous. And, I just honestly was like so unbelievably just I would say like appalled from the standpoint of gambling variance, but like also just like kind of just mind blown by the fact that some of these games are just such a gamble like that. Like if you said to yourself, this is going to be a 2.5 spread and they're going to lose 39-37, genuinely, you can't even script this stuff. It's unbelievable, right? And it's like you think about like the final score when you don't lose when you lose by a hook, like 39-37, like what? And not only that, like the way it played out late, like the Texans were up 33-30. They were on a 3rd and 23. Bucks converted somehow and then scored a touchdown, another touchdown. It's just insanity, absolute insanity, absolute insanity. And and again, like RL, my God, it just goes back to this continuous conversation with contemporary football. Like this is not 1995 where like you cover spreads there. They just kick the extra point. There's no way around it. They kick the extra point, and now all of a sudden you're in this nonsensical analytics stuff where I understand it. Don't get me wrong, I understand it, but you're not covering spreads now because analytics, and they're going to kneel down in front of 1 point. And the insanity thing is just that with analytics, it's like if we're being really honest, if they kick the extra point there to make that 40-37, like let's just be really honest. Is the other team really going to come back and return the kickoff? Like, this is the thing about analytics where it's like they act like it's the optimal play. It's usually like less than 1% that it's going to happen. So the fact that they're not kicking the extra point because they think that some crazy, like apocalyptic outlier is going to happen, it's like, guys, you're so, like, I hate to say it, but like, you're so stupid, guys. Like, you think, like, they would be the worst handicappers on the planet because they think that statistics are telling them the story. It's like, no, you're just functioning on like a ridiculous outliers. Like, they're not going to score a touchdown on the kick return. Just kick the freaking extra point, whatever, And yeah, and Christian Alfred says Saints kicker has been missing extra point and field goals all season. 100%. And bro, he missed that 35-yarder, 40-yarder off the upright. I could not believe that. Could not believe that. Honestly, could not believe that. Yeah, could not believe that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And no, I could not believe that with the Saints specifically. I was, it's weird because I kind of just have like a general natural weird like energy, like where I kind of feel weirdness, I would say. Like I kind of knew this week was going to be super weird. I actually think this upcoming week is going to be super weird too. Just giving you, I hate to like put like a vibe on the situation, but I just like last week I knew it was going to be sharp and funky and weird. I think this weekend is also going to be really sharp and funky and weird. I think this is going to get really good again next week, week 11. I love week 11. I don't love week 10, I will say, but I think there's a lot of angles we could probably articulate in some fashion. Bro, off the grid, my guy. Bro, like dude, I was I was watching it. I was like, are we serious right now? And like every single time these guys just gamble, like there's but they don't understand it. Like it's literally like it's like bad poker players and bad sports bettors where like they think like fish, and then all of a sudden like you give them analytics. Fish don't understand analytics. They just all they understand is that there's a sharper way to look at it. They don't actually understand what it means or how to use it. And that's what NFL coaches are and baseball coaches are. They're fish that are told that analytics matter, but they don't know what it means or how to use it. So you just get these guys who have no clue what's going on applying statistical frequencies where they have no clue what they're doing. And that's all it is. That's all it is. It's all it is. It's all it is. And I want to talk about this NFL card, but I'm going to take a sip of this one. 18 guys in the chat. Cheers to you guys. If you're in the chat, drop comments. Willing to acknowledge. I love talking to you guys on these broadcasts. You know, when the gun and I get in there, we fire off. We get super into our element. RLCB says, "What's your opinion on the in-play tournament?" I can't say I like it. I can't say I like it. I think it's kind of just a projection. I think it's, I think that handicapping is going to be very difficult. I think analytically it's totally new, of course. I think just very baseline, the way to handicap the play-in tournament in the NBA is just to take the team that theoretically has the worst players. I think they're going to play harder, and that's it. And, go back 10 years of my life, that's how I would have handicapped it. I think that's how I have to handicap it. And I'm going to be doing a show on Friday with the guys on BetUS, and that's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to look at the lines. I'm not going to look at the situational dynamics. What I'm going to say is you should be taking the team that theoretically has less postseason availability long term and should be theoretically more motivated in this spot. And I think that's pretty much it. Ziggy in the chat. Low number spread things. I think the money line. That's her. Yeah. That's a different conversation. That's more long term. Just how it plays out. It's not so much small window. You could make an argument that if you're going to take the spread, you should trust the spread because it's neutral odds and you're adjusting odds. Therefore, you're not actually trusting your bet if you need to buy a point. So actually adjusting long-term to money lines, maybe not the most smart angle there. But anyway, let's talk about football. Let's talk about week 10. I want to go into it. I'm going to take a sip on this one. This beer is so beautiful. It's the polar opposite to Thursday Night Football. Panthers, Bears. I swear the league sometimes has these projections as if they know exactly what's going on. And they say to themselves, how can we get the worst teams in the league to get some sort of showcase environment? Because this game is egregious at all levels. And going to take a sip, my guy Jack Stefan. Hypnosis IPA from Firestone Walker Brewery, West Coast in the house. Cheers, bro. What's the ABV on that, bro? And when look this game, I'm just looking at ESPN. I haven't opened up. I have 4 books here, but I try not to disperse them because I'm not making a pick, so I don't want to give official here. But we're looking at Chicago minus 3.5. You know, I first lean here. I got to be honest with you guys. I do lean the Panthers. I think the Panthers are just at a dog point somehow going to cover the spread. I also think that when you look at the total, 39.5, I think just for the absolute flaccid level of offense, I use that word intentionally, flaccid level of offense, you can make an argument this 39.5 is telling you an over story. And I think that it's kind of what we talk about on a weekly basis that, short week is oftentimes the defense not being able to compete. And there will be more points. There'll be an open game. Stupid things happen. More points. Just nonsensical. Whatever's going on. And I do think this game is inherently very difficult to handicap. Bears quarterback situation, I believe, still Tyson Bagent. Not entirely sure there, but I do think the over is interesting. I would say interesting. Contrarian for sure. Contrarian for sure. I mean, most people are going to sit there and say, wow, they have two terrible teams, rookie quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks. They won't score points. When you see a total hovering around 39.5, 40 for theoretically that situation, I do think that the books are telling you a northward story in terms of the public perception being so low. So very loose, but I do think that the over is probably the better look in that game, wildly. 9:30 a.m. in Frankfurt, we have the Colts laying 2 to the Patriots. This game, I think, is potentially Joe Public to the max, and I'm not afraid of backing Joe Public, but I think the Colts probably win this game by 3 points or more. I think the Patriots are desolate. I think they're incapable. I think they don't have talent. I think they're also potentially intentionally tanking. That sounds ridiculous, but I think it's very valid. I mean, when you legitimately look at what's going on with the Patriots right now, this team is sitting at 2-7. How much incentive do you have to win football games? I mean, why not lose every single game? And not only that, but you have Bill Belichick, who is sinister of mind. This guy is clearly aware of the situation. If they lose out, they get the number 1 pick. Why would the Patriots not continue to lose? And they've lost to every single bad team on their schedule. They were supposed to beat the Commanders at home. They were supposed to beat the Saints at home. They were supposed to win 2 or 3 other games that were very marginal. They're clearly not very good. They're injured. They're questionable at all points. I mean, I think your first angle here just has to be just a short line favorite with the Colts, and I think it's not so much just the Colts are coming off a win on the road at Carolina, going on the road to London. This whole potentially trap spot nonsense that might be formulated within circles of conversation. But I think truthfully, the Colts are pretty damn good. I think I love Shane Steichen. I think he's a great young coach, legitimately great young coach. And I also think that Gardner Minshew, just buying this guy is just always a buy point. I think he's always going to overcompete the situation. He's just the perfect prototype to just continuously bring more energy and desire to the environment. And what could be more ambiguous and nonsensical than Frankfurt? Pretty much nothing. If you want to back a guy that's always going to try to prove something, it's certainly Gardner Minshew over Mac Jones. And I think you got to back the Colts here in Frankfurt for sure. Let me look at the chat, see what's going on here, guys. Not much going on in the chat. Fire it up, guys. Appreciate you guys. 23 in the chat. Drop comments in chat. I will retweet this on Twitter. Bring some more people in here. As I was saying, no offense to you guys. I love you guys, but 13,000 more people. Come hang out with us. Going to take a sip and let's fire off the 1 o'clock slate. But moral of the story at Frankfurt Point, I think Colts, buy the Colts. I think the 43.5 point, bet the sky. See you on that chat. Appreciate it, man. I think the total for me, just loosely, is not necessarily telling a story either way. I think the Colts have been scoring the ball relentlessly and also not defending the ball at all. So you get the Colts with these overs, and you get the Patriots with a lot of unders and inefficiency offensively. So unfortunately, in terms of the total, you get again one team too high, one team too low, kind of a merge environment. I do think the Colts come out with it though. I do think that it's more so than anything just a talent gap, a motivational gap, a better coaching gap, a situational gap in terms of the coaching arc. Belichick theoretically is probably camping in. He never gives anything to the media ever, but I do think that he is probably packing it in and saying, let's get a draft pick and let's reboot for the next couple of years. I believe he just signed a new 4 or 5 year contract. He's re-upped. In his mind, he's in the beginning of his arc. So he's not necessarily worried about this season. He knows they're kind of dead in the water this season. So it's kind of a dead weight game for them, at that point. Appreciate you, bro. Big time beers. Cheers up, fears down. Love you guys so much. Let's talk to football. And, going through it here, just as I said, I think Thursday Night Football is incredibly tough. I think the over is very contrarian. Contrarian does not necessarily mean it's correct. I think it means that it's statistically a move point to that point in the game, but not necessarily going to win. I think Colts are the look in Frankfurt. Let's go to 1 o'clock here. Texans, Bengals. Texans at a 7-point deficit. I think that's a tough game in general. I think just in general, I think it's a tough game. Just looking at the dynamics. Texans off a huge win. CJ Stroud balling out. Bengals smoking hot. Bengals will ball. They both will ball. Total's a little low, 46.5. You don't want to buy a low total like that. My guy says tangle. Said tangles. Well, there you go. They're going to tangle and they're going to go over. It's pretty much. I just forecasted an over by my this word merge, but Texans Bengals over. Yeah, I mean you're right. I mean you would expect that for sure. And I had suggested last week I thought the Dallas game against Philly would go under 46.5, same number. It went over 28-23. I think that when you look at these numbers in the mid to high 40s, particularly within teams that are going to score the ball, it's going to be a bit of a gamble. I think that the number's probably right on there to a certain degree. I will say I do think that game is very tight, but I would lean towards the Bengals. I think that the Texans coming off that big win is going to be hard to bounce back. I think it's going to be hard to bounce back and continue that momentum. And I think the Bengals are just on one, as they always get their momentum mid-season. I think this could be a spot. But I do think, just generally speaking, laying 7 or high in the NFL, particularly within teams that are at least reasonably competitive and not massively, underwhelming on one quotient point. This could be tight, especially when you see a 46.5, 7. It's kind of tight, but I would lean towards the Bengals. I think the total is a toss. 1 o'clock Fox Sports, Saints Vikings. I like the Saints here. And I like the Saints every week. But I think it gets even better here. Now you get the Vikings 5-4 off a ridiculous backdoor cover in Atlanta. And you get the Saints again off an egregious push on the line we got. And I was getting trolled from a couple of people saying we didn't get the line. I was like, guys, we got 7. I mean, we got 7, so we pushed, but whatever. Regardless, the kicker missed a fucking field goal to not cover the 9.5. But point is, the Saints are still a statistical anomaly, and they're laying 2.5 on the road in Minnesota. And Minnesota is off egregious environments. So I'm not going to say a whole lot on this. I'm literally looking at New Orleans immediately with officiality here, because this is exactly where you want to be on New Orleans. And continuing on this little opening conversation, I'm going to take a sip because I'm getting a nice little buzz, and I love you guys so much. You guys in the chat, 23, 21, 14, 100,000. Let's go. And so the first takeaway from this conversation is that the best spot on the board is New Orleans at -2.5, without question. And I think the next best spot is the Colts in Frankfurt. Continuing down the list here, this is a lot of things going on. I think I'm looking at it here. This is where it gets interesting here. So you get the 49ers off a bye and 3 consecutive losses. And you get the Jags off a bye in a spot where they have functioned very well. So I don't know if this is really that great of a spot. Bet the Sky says 49ers is my favorite spot. I certainly understand your angle. I really do. Obviously, off of 3 consecutive losses and a bye, bounce back and the whole thing. I don't know. One of the things that I said early season, for those of you guys who follow me more closely, and I appreciate you guys watching all my videos, I did say this in the middle of the summer. I thought Brock Purdy would have a bit of a cliff dive, and that was actually why I bet Dallas to win the Super Bowl. And it wasn't because I thought Dallas would actually win the Super Bowl. I just thought that Dallas would get to the NFC title game and host San Francisco as opposed to go to San Francisco. This is all very complicated, but basically what I was going with is that I didn't think Brock Purdy was going to be that clean this year. And it seemed like I was a complete idiot the first 4 weeks. The guy looked like he was just on his way to the Hall of Fame, but it seems to have flipped pretty quickly in the last 3 weeks. And of course, a couple of injuries, Deebo Samuel in and out. Deebo Samuel very integral to what he's doing, but I just don't know about this. I just don't know. I think that it really goes back to what I was thinking in the middle of the summer, where I thought the guy is, he's a Big 12 quarterback that, was put into a great system and truthfully really just performed great. And I just think that he's honestly pretty capped, if I'm being honest, pretty capped. And it's one of those weird things. Let me just consolidate this, guys. I was getting some lag because the video popped up. Sorry about that. Pretty sure the video just lagged. Sorry about that, guys. So a video popped up on my screen. My fault. But with this game, I don't know. I do think that I lean towards the Jags. I gotta be honest. I lean towards the Jags. And the thing is, Ziggy, I know you love the bounce back. I know you're a dog. I appreciate you for your conversation. I know you're a dog. One of the things, Ziggy, that I would say that I do think is very important is in terms of the law of averages, it's this idea of zooming in or zooming out. So with Purdy and the Niners, they've lost a few games in a row. So if you zoom in, you say to yourself, they should bounce back. However, they won about 15 games in a row before. 15 games in a row, something like that. So when you zoom out, you say to yourself, when a rookie quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant, last pick in the draft, Iowa State, goes this deep, this consistent, when he goes awry, can it go the other direction? And that's the whole point, is that I think you're zooming into the small window bounce back where theoretically it's actually he was way too hot for way too long. And now he's going to go the other direction with some sort of consistency. And I think that's why you're seeing a short line here. And, the last time a team like the Niners laid a short number at the Jags, it was last year, late season. Dallas laid 3. And a far less confident Jacksonville team did beat them in overtime, I believe 40-34 or something like that. And I think this is one of those things. And Bet the Sky is a great conversation. It's a great conversation. Just like I was saying, I think one of the crucial points with NFL football, zoom out, just zoom out, right? So San Francisco with Brock Purdy was like so incomprehensibly hot. Like there's no way you could ever expect the last guy in the draft, the third quarterback. It was Jimmy Garoppolo. It was Trey Lance, and then it was our guy. I forget his fucking name because he's so irrelevant. Brock Purdy. So is he supposed to win like 15 straight games? Probably not. But the point is, on the law of averages, if you're like a rookie quarterback, I get it. He looks good, but you're probably supposed to come down pretty aggressively. Whereas the other side, Jacksonville was so poor for so long, they can definitely come up. They can come up. And that's where I think that it's one of those things where it's so easy in professional football to center on this small window bounce back idea. But sometimes you have to zoom out and say, this team was way too hot forever. So they're very capable of just coming down. And I think that's what it applies here. I'm not officially on this. This is obviously the introductory conversation, but I do think this is applicable to this spot. I think that's why the line is short in general. 1 o'clock, Fox Sports, Browns, Ravens. This is an interesting spot. Interesting spot. Ravens are smoking hot. Browns are, I believe, in a revenge game. Hard to read there. Falcons, Cardinals on the road. Yeah, this could be a Cardinals spot. I think the Cardinals might get off the schneid here, honestly. I think Kyler Murray is playing this week, which will be interesting. I would say the Ravens-Browns game requires significant more analysis than just loose initial casing. Titans-Bucks. I got to be honest with you guys. I like the Titans here at first glance. I really like the Titans at first glance. The Bucks have just been getting away with murder. You guys saw them cover or Sunday. Just egregious, uncompetitive. This is where the Titans 0-4 away, laying points. Great telltale sign. I think this is definitely a Titans spot. Looking at the board here, just recasing it. I think Colts and Colts and Frankfurt are very good. I think Saints on the road are very good. I think Titans on the road are very good. I think Jags are probably probably tight. I got to look at the Browns in more close proximity. I think the Cardinals are slightly ambiguous, but I do think they have mild access from the standpoint that they're getting Kyler Murray back. And the Falcons are just cratering. Definitely the looks there. Titans are a great look. Titans, absolutely a great look. Without question. Titans might be the best spot on the 1 o'clock board, actually. Titans and Saints. Probably the best spots on the 1 o'clock board, just initially. Go to the 4 o'clock board. Lions at Chargers. You know I love the Lions. I always love the Lions. Chargers got away with one tonight. Cowboys are laying 16.5 points to the Giants. Is that even serious? Are the Cowboys seriously laying 16.5 points to the Giants? That's absolutely outrageous. I mean, it makes sense, but that's outrageous. Unbelievable line, though. Unbelievable line. That's wild. You know, I mean, they're talking basically like a shutout. Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying, regardless, like you never see a line like that in division. You never see that in division. That's like sick line. It's like an uncompetitive line. Yeah, the kid from Cuse in Illinois. I know. I'm always saying that it's just like a weird, uncompetitive line. Like that's one of those lines where the Giants actually might cover the game. I'm not even gonna lie. Like it's not necessarily like Sirac on ice, like whatever. The Giants might cover that game because it's gonna be some sort of weird shit. Like that's just a weird shit game. Weird shit game. Commanders at Seahawks. That's a tough game. That's a tough game. Seahawks bounce back. Commanders off a win. You could make an argument for the Seahawks from the standpoint of obviously the reversal in the previous week. Commanders row back to back, big win in New England. I don't know. It's tough. I got to look at it in more detail. Jets, Raiders, Sunday Night Football, tough. You know, the one game I do like, guys, I like the Bills on Monday Night Football. I do like the Bills on Monday Night Football. I think the Bills bounce back. I think the Bills get off their bullshit and they just turn up against a really bad Denver defense. And I've been looking at that game. I think the Gun and I were talking about it last week or the week before on one of our streams. But I do think Monday Night Football next week, November 13th, the Bills are going to have this just like let loose spot, really. Let loose type of spot. So, yeah, I think so, 100%. 100%. Anyway, guys, going to wrap it up on that. Hour and 30 minutes in the books here, just chilling out. Pretty capped myself energy-wise. Going to have a beer and just relax. Just early look if you guys want to get it. I think by the Titans is a great spot. Like the Bills, we'll get that late night next week. Colts is speculative. We'll figure that out. I think Saints, Titans, and those are the top two spots. Saints and Titans early week. NBA will resume on Wednesday. Appreciate you guys immensely. Love you guys so much. Sending you guys all the best vibes. Chalky Waters Nation. 9 words of lifestyle. Round the river, water. Let's fucking go.